Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Manchester, Missouri, on a farm.
What day were you born?
September the 4th, 1919.
Really? Interesting. So that makes you how old?
93.
93? Wow, look
Yes.
really good for 93 years old.
Thank you.
What were you doing at the start of the war?
Do what now?
What were you doing at the start of the war?
What was I doing at the time of the war? Well, Mr. Roosevelt said I need all you young men in 1940. He said I need all you young men for 1 year of military service in the Army between the ages of 21 and 35. Well, I fit right in that category. So then I had to register to be cooperate with his appointment and everything. So I got my registration and everything, and before I knew it, why, I got another card and it said, we'd like for you to report to the induction board in Kirkwood, Missouri on such and such a day, and get assigned to the rest of the things to come. So after that, then they got me to the doctor for physical. Well, I passed on all colors, flying colors. Couldn't get out for bow-legged or anything like that or what have you. And then another thing was then they got another card from the War Department. It says you are to report to your induction center in South Kirkwood Road on June the 14th, 1941. I did. From there I went down, my brother took me down to Kirkwood from Manchester and to the induction board. There I met up with a few other young boys getting ready to go in, and we went down into the railroad terminal in Kirkwood and got on a train there and went on down to Jefferson Barracks. And from then on, why, it is more or less tests of all kinds that you can think of. And before I knew it, they said you are 1A in the Army.
Wow. Just like that?
You passed all physical exams, so you'll have your first Army meal here tonight at the barracks.
Wow.
So, a few other things come along, this and that, for the next 2 days. Got our clothes issued to us, our khakis, and of all things, we got our ODs, meaning woolen ones, the wool clothes for winter. Got everything in June. It's kind of hard to believe that. Got an Army blanket and everything you can think of. And then on June the 17th, we loaded on the train and headed for Fort Leonard Wood. I don't know just exactly just how many there was, how many men went up there, but I know that they went up on a train, maybe 2 or 3 cars, you know. But he got up there, then got up to the train station in Fort Leonard Wood and got off there and got on Army 6x6s. Of course, I didn't know what in the world a 6x6 was for quite a while, but I soon got acquainted. And my busload went over to the area of Company C of the 1st Infantry, 6th Infantry Division. I got assigned to Company C and the 2nd Platoon. And from there I stayed with them till doomsday.
Oh. That's awesome. Okay. Did you have a job before the war started?
Did I have a job?
Yeah, I know you were younger, but did you have a job before the war started?
Well, I helped my father and mother on the farm the whole time up until about a year, I guess, before I went into the service. There was a vacancy in the florist shop in Manchester. They grew plants down there, flowers of all different types, and I got myself a one-time job down there, I should say, and I stayed with them for just about a year, and then had to go into the service. But that is all I had. That is the only kind of job I ever had.
Or just let us know if you need a drink or anything, you need to take a break.
Do what, ma'am?
If you need to take a break or if you need a drink, just let us know.
Oh,
and we
yeah,
can
yeah,
stop it.
okay, all right.
All right. Was World War II the only war you were enlisted in?
Now, if you don't mind, sir, just speak up a little bit louder.
Oh, which wars did you serve in? Did you only serve in World War II, or
Yeah, no, just World War II.
just World War II? All
But
right.
when World War II ended, well, then that was let's see, in October or August of '45 is when the war ended.
Yep. Okay. Were you? I think you already answered this, but were you drafted or enlisted?
Drafted,
You were drafted.
yeah.
Okay.
See, that's what it all this before I told you. That's what all came in.
Okay.
Because I passed my physical and everything, that they qualified me for being a draftee.
All right. Do you remember hearing about the start of the war, and where were you, and what did you think?
When the what?
Uh,
A little bit louder again, though.
sorry. Do you remember hearing about the start of the war, and where were you, and what did you think about it? Like, were
Oh
you,
well, I was home from Fort Leonard Wood on a furlough, just a weekend furlough from Fort Leonard Wood, and I just came. Was in church with my parents, and on the way home from church, I heard about the Pearl Harbor accident.
Mhm.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Heard about the the war beginning, when the Japanese dropped the bombs on Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, all the men in the service report back to your barracks right away.
Okay. You've already told us what branch. Which boot camps did you attend, and what was it like?
Well, the wasn't really no boot camp. It was Fort Leonard Wood. It was the Army right from the very beginning.
Really?
Yeah, you might never did. I know what you saw. I know what you're saying when you say boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
But I never did go to a boot camp.
Really? So they just
Never
kinda-
did. See, it was directly from the induction at Jefferson Barracks, right straight up to Fort Leonard Wood.
How did you feel about that? Were you?
Well, it was much of anything to feel about. I just was only doing my duty for 1 year,
Mhm.
and well, like then at the time I had 6 months in. Well, then I was locked in for the duration. That I had 6 months in, and was planning on getting out after a year's time, but it didn't turn out to be. Turned out to be 4.5 years later
Oh.
before I got out. It was just a feeling that just doing my part for the Army. So you getting warm, sir? If you want to open that window there.
Sure.
Huh?
I mean, I can open it, but I get hot easily.
Oh, you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
What were your responsibilities in the service? What was your main job, day to day, day in, day out?
Well, it was more or less training for quite a while.
Training for quite a while.
Yeah.
What kind of trainings did you do?
Well, I was in the Army. That was a regular Army outfit. I was there. They fought battles in Florida with the what kind of name? I can't think of the name of the tribe. Way back in the 1700s. They also was up in Detroit at some kind of the battles up there with the Indians and everybody else. In the 1900 year, 1908 and years back like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is a regular Army outfit, and it's kind of neat to be with. I mean, when they said that, what you did it too. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts, and like when we got up to Fort Leonard Wood, they gave us sheets and everything, and one sergeant demonstrated how to make a bed. Then they gave us the sheets and said, "All right, make your own bed now."
Wow.
So that's how it was.
Wow.
Had the brand new cots and everything, and the barracks had just been built,
Mm-hmm.
brand new. Had mud and everything all over the floors from the carpenters and everybody else walking around with muddy shoes from the ground up at Fort.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too much long coming. It wasn't too many hours later. They said, "All right, boys, here's some brooms and mops and everything. Want this barracks looking pretty neat here."
Mm.
So that's what we did. We swept and mopped the floors and did everything, get them looking the way the sergeant wanted them. So I learned from then on, you better do it or you'll regret it.
All right. So, did you happen to ever see any combat?
Did I understand combat?
Did you ever see any combat?
No, I never. Well, I did in the service, yes.
In the service? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Tell about it. Or,
Well, we was down in, my first contact with it was down in we left the States. Well, we went on a lot of maneuvers here in the States.
mm-hmm.
Well, I started out in 1941, went down to Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, and had maneuvers down there. Of course, here we were carrying sticks around for guns, and I don't know. Of course, the city never had the War Department had not got going real good. They never had no guns for us or anything. Like I said, we had World War I helmets on. We was wearing World War I helmets and stuff like that, just to simulate, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, that went down there in 41 and 42. We went down to Tennessee maneuvers. The country down there was supposed to look so much like Germany. They wanted us trained down there. See, they evidently didn't know from day one where we were going to go or what we was going to do. You know, it's just going to be wherever they needed it. You know. And the 6th Division contained about 15,000 men, a little over 15,000 men.
Wow.
So whenever you talk about a division, that's what the size of one was, about 15,000.
Wow.
So let's see, Tennessee maneuvers, and he came back to Fort Leonard Wood, and in 42, and went out to Yuma, Arizona. We started taking desert training. And we was out there for quite a while, and it just, I never ate so much sand, I don't think, in my life as I did out there that day, or that time out there. It was the wind blowing and sand flying all directions. Well, we just about finished with our training there, and then we was getting ready to go to North Africa. And we just about had it completed, and General Patton told the War Department, I don't need any more men here in North Africa. Start training someplace, start training them somewhere else, or to do something else. Well, from the desert, we went out to St. Louis Obispo, California. That's right on the coast out there, between L.A. and Frisco. It's an old army camp for the California National Guard. So it wasn't very long while we started taking jungle training. Well, we knew then where we was going. There was no jungles in Europe, and then in North Africa, so we knew we was heading for the Pacific. Where we didn't know. But we trained there then till October 43, and left on freighters underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, bye-bye Golden Gate, and all the way to Hawaii. We just stopped over Hawaii just for about 2 months or 3 months, and got more jungle training. After that, we loaded on ships again and headed down into Guinea. That's way down, just the next door neighbor to Australia. And that's where the Japs had landing. They had troops landed there already, because the next big thing for the Japanese was to conquer Australia. They was going to. That was the next object in their ambition. They were going to conquer, Australia. Well, between our Navy and us boys on the ground, we kind of stopped things right there in their tracks. They couldn't get no more men down there, and kind of the Navy was sinking their ships about as fast as they were trying to get them down there. And the ones that they had in New Guinea, why, we was eliminating them just about as fast as they could be, come out of their caves and whatever they were hiding in, you know. But we stayed down there for one whole year in New Guinea. Wow. And we just kind of hedged up all up the north coast about 5 different times till we got way up in Dutch New Guinea at Zanzibar. That's a little town. We'll never stay then until December 44. From there we loaded on ships, big ships again, and heading for the Philippines. Well, here we were out there in the ocean, floating along like ducks, and seeing Japanese kamisabes trying to hit us and everything, you know. And flying all around, and our anti-aircraft guns blasting away at them, and the aircraft trying to shoot them down. Everything. It's quite a trip.
Wow.
But we did make it safely up to Lingayen Gulf in the Philippines, and that's where we landed then.
Wow.
It was quite a deal. My first big deal of invading. Because when we got down to Guinea, we didn't have to. We just kind of walked ashore. There was no enemy fire or anything. But we got to the Philippines there. That is where we found out. So here I am wading through water waist deep after you got off the big ships and everything, wading through ocean water and carrying my gun up high and my pack on my back and just waiting to be let it down or doing something from the shore, but never did encounter anything because our Navy and the Air Force kind of pulverized that thing and made it feasible for us to land without anybody getting hurt or killed, and which we did. But the Japanese, being as smart as they were, they pulled back about 20 to 25 miles, they say. And right there is where they stood then. That's where they stood ground. So that's where we really encountered some heavy fighting, right there. We lost quite a few men right there, and from there on down, then we just kept on meeting resistance all the time till we got down to Manila, the capital of the Philippines. And that had been bombed so heavily by our Air Force that there wasn't much fighting going on there at all. Just more or less taking it over and seeing so it wasn't recaptured again. So we went over, and our outfit went over on Bataan then. I was on that infamous march, but then General Wainwright was on when the Japanese captured the troops, well, you know, way back in whatever year that was. But they made them walk along that road with nothing to drink and nothing to eat. I'll tell you what, folks, I got goose pimples just by walking on that, knowing that was a death march for them boys. Walking on that same road and everything, it just got me. I just couldn't help it. But we walked all the way across Bataan then until we got to the South China Sea. Well, that was the first time I had my clothes off since I got off the boat. And was that ever good to get in and get a good, we call it a bath, where we just wash ourselves down real good. And then jump back in our dirty clothes again. But it was really something.
That's nice.
Then we came on back and went east of Manila, the big city of Manila, up into the mountain range there. It is what they call the Marikina watershed. That was the water. That's where the town of Manila got all this water from. That's why they call it the Marikina watershed. Well, the big range there. We did fighting up there, and all the way up back, and we started back up to where we came from, but only in a different area, you know. We had the mountains this time to go through. The other time it was mostly the plain. They called it the Luzon Plains. Wasn't many, we've had a lot of fighting there and everything, but it was no mountains there, just more level territory. Anyhow, we kept on going up north, and then, like I said, we got maybe back in 150 miles, I guess, and then on those mountain ranges till we got to where the General Yamashita was. And we were just about ready to, we knew where he was hiding and everything. We were just about to take him over, and that's when the war ended.
Really?
August of 1945.
So.
And that was quite a sight to see.
Wow. So where were you when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima?
Where
were you, or what do you remember from when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima or Nagasaki?
Yeah, when they dropped in.
Where were you at? And
well, that's where we were, right up there north, and just about ready to come to the headquarters of the general that is in charge of all the Japanese troops in the Philippines. See, that's where our outfit was when we just, I guess, about another 2 days we were going to surround that thing and then capture him. That is our object. But that first thing we heard then, that the war is over. The United States dropped the bombs on Yamashita and Nagasaki, what it was, you know. And boy, will you talk about a bunch of happy guys then. I mean, there was guns, everybody was shooting their gun and everything and carrying on, and well, that was the end of it right there then.
Wow. All right. Let's see. Another question was, Could you tell me some of your most memorable experiences? Like, did you have like a favorite war story, or was that just kind of like your big?
One of my favorite?
Yeah, like anytime.
Well, I'll tell you one that was that probably saved my life.
Okay.
When we after we left Manila at that time, what I told you a little while ago, we went on Bataan. Well, going through Bataan and on the island there, I was communications sergeant, and we had to have information to our company commander at all times that he was getting from the battalion commander. So we had to lay a telephone wire pretty as fast as we could along the ground from the battalion back to the company CP and things like that. Yeah, well, from there, I mean, they had another unit that did that, but then we had to get it from our company CP to the men in a surrounding area, you know. Well, then I already put the 2 men on there on the telephones at nighttime, and 3 men. One to be on for so many hours, and he'd 2 or 3 hours, and he'd wake him another guy. But here, this guy is on the telephone. He fell asleep. Well, the company commander was supposed to be at a battalion commanding meeting real soon. Well, here he is asleep, and our company commander didn't get there. And then, of course, as the Army rules go, you know who caught the, let's call the plane, what it was. I won't use the Army term, but the company commander called me in the next morning. He said, Sergeant Ruck, he said, what happened last night when I didn't get that message from the battalion commander? He said, I missed an important meeting. Well, I said, Captain, I said, all I can tell you is that that boy fell asleep on the phone. He said, well, where was you at? I was sleeping. I'm sorry, I can't stay up 24 hours a day. I'm just a human too. And well, it was a couple of days. He said, Sergeant Rick, he said, I'm gonna take you out of there as a communication sergeant and put you out in the field as a squad leader. I said, well, whatever have you. I knew what was coming. See, I expected that and everything, because that's just how the Army does it. That's the Army way of getting you, a nice way of getting rid of you. Well, then I was out there with that squad, then on Bataan, almost to the area on the other side there where we stopped. I was with the squad leader. He came up to me. He said, Sergeant, one morning he came up, Sergeant. He said, I understand you don't know enough about leading the squad. I'm going to have to reduce you to a private. And to put another sergeant in your place. I said, okay, that's the way they want you. Of course, I knew this is all coming. This is Army routine. So I was back from a sergeant. I went back to a PFC again. Well, it's kind of hard to ride home again and tell your mom and dad I'm back to a PFC now after 4.5 years. But as things turned out, I'm glad it happened that way. Because the sergeant he put in my place leading that squad, 2 weeks later, he was going up the draw on Bataan with that squad I had, leading him up there. All of a sudden he got killed, got shot.
Wow.
So just a matter of 2 weeks, or else I'd have been the dead one.
Wow.
So that's one of my. It's not the famous thing or anything. You know, I don't call it being famous or anything, but my most memorable.
Oh wow, I can see where that's the most memorable. All right, I see you have all kinds of medals. Any you'd like to tell about? Any like your any of these medals that stick out to you? Or I guess
Well, those ones, the ones that was my picture there, that one of them, yeah, those are all the ones at the bottom. It kind of tells you what they are. There's, well, yeah, that is for the. I think that is for the 2 stripes, 2 stars, or that's for the invasion. Two. What is it? I can't see.
There's 2 stars and an arrowhead.
And an arrow? Yeah, that meant two invasions, and well, it has a meaning and everything.
Wow. How about this one?
Well, that's the one that was the Asiatic Pacific ribbon.
Wow.
And then the just keeps on going down. He probably got better eyes than I have to see if.
Yeah, it's red medal.
Well, there's a brown star, isn't it? Yeah. Well, that's the brown star I earned down in New Guinea.
What does a brown star mean?
That means I did something out of the ordinary, that did something that they thought I deserved a brown star.
That's really good. All right, what's do you know the last one?
Do what?
The last one. Says American campaign.
American Defense.
Ah.
American Defense ribbon. Well, then right above it to the left, there's a red star.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 6th Division red star, the six-pointed red star. And then right above it was the stripes. See them four ribbons up there, them 4 stripes? Right? No, down a little bit further.
Oh,
right there.
Gotcha.
That's the time in the service. Each one of them is 6 months.
Cool. All right.
So I was working on my, so that's 2 years. I was working on my 3rd one, but they didn't get on there. But the other the ribbons on the side there, of my picture there, the one says Semper Primus. That is the 1st Infantry logo. Another Marines is always the Marines is Semper Fidelis. Ours is always faithful, Semper Primus. So that's what those meant there. Then right above it was Company C.
Yeah.
It was called Cross Rifles. Yeah, 1st Infantry Company C. That's what I wore on my lapel of my coat there. Those same ones there.
All right. Can you tell about these top?
Well, there's the combat infantry badge right on top. That's a silver gun and a wreath there. Anybody wearing that showed them that he was in the infantry and had combat, seen combat.
All right. How about this red one with the eagle? It says
Can you see anything on there?
efficiency, honor, and
What is it? Honor?
efficiency, honor, and fidelity, or fidelity. Yeah. It's got an eagle on it. It's red. It's got stripes.
Yeah. One was what's the one on the right over there then?
This one is it says American Defense. That was your American Defense
Huh?
you're telling me about. The American Defense.
Oh, okay, the American Defense. All right.
How about these? Are these also from?
Well, one of them is from the state of Missouri. I don't know just when it is. It might be the one in the center on the top row up there.
Yeah, I think that one's that. This one says World War II.
Yeah.
Can't fully see that one. That one says Liberty.
Yeah.
How about over here? These look like patches.
Well, those got nothing to do with the Army.
Nothing to
But
do with
those
the
are,
Army?
huh?
Nothing to do with the
No,
Army?
that's got nothing to do with the Army. Those are, each one of those is 5 miles that I walked after I got home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, see, there's one from, they call it the Spinach Walk up in Lenexa, Kansas. I was up there to see our son, and I heard about the walk, so I went on the walk. And if you made the 5 miles, why, then you got a ribbon.
Wow.
The one of there is our church down in Manchester. They had one, and the 5 mile, and I made that one.
Wow.
So that's what all those ribbons are there for.
A bunch of good exercise. All right. What were living conditions like when you served overseas? Like day in, day out? Like how was your lifestyle living wise?
Every day, the weather, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like weather.
Well, the weather in the Guinea is only one word, and that's hot, just like you're getting right now.
That's true.
That is every day, and rain. You could almost bet every day is going to rain, and humid and hot. It is no place for a human being to be, but we had to do it. There was no other way around it. It had to be done.
All right. What was the food, hygiene, and living conditions like? Well, okay, I kind of asked the living conditions, but like, what kind of food did you guys eat?
Well,
day in, day out?
coffee and things like that. All of it was in cans, you know. At first, it wasn't everything ever came in cans, and it had a little opener on it where you opened the darn thing up and ate it right like that. The coffee came in a little cube, something like you ever seen these big sugar cubes already? Have you seen them? Well, that's what the coffee looked like. It is brown, only it is brown. And if possible, you put that in hot water, and the thing would melt. And that was your coffee.
Wow.
Really, it tastes just like Folgers. I should say slop. No, it was horrible. I mean, of course, you know, if you wanted to live, you ate it.
Yeah, that's true. That's
But then when we was in Garrison, which Garrison meant like Fort Leonard Wood, you know, where a place you sit down, had it to the table, and had a good dinner or supper or what it was, or even like out in San Luis Obispo, California. See, we had barracks out there with the kitchen, the big kitchen, and everything, and our cooks are there. So the food was real good, you know. But once we got out in the field, why, it was just not that say good eating, you know.
Yeah.
Everything was rations.
All right. Kind of touched on this, but what do you remember? Like, what was your last? I guess you call them. What was your last mission or thing towards the end of the war? I know we talked about how you were just past that march, or where those men marched, and at the end of the war. But what was the last thing you were told to do, or your company to do?
Well, see, that's when we was up there right before the day before they dropped the bomb.
Yeah. What were you guys doing on that day before they dropped
Well,
the bomb?
the day before that, I say we just crossing many streams and everything, and climbing a lot of hills and mountains and everything to get to the place where they said the Japanese general was there. The Air Force. I mean, they had a lot of pictures and everything they took with the Air Force, you know, with just where he was hiding and everything. So that was the day before. That's what I remember. With the day before when the war ended, we still on a move to get up there and then capture him. But it was mountainous terrains.
All right. How were you received when you returned here? So when you returned home after the war was over?
Well, I'll tell you one. Hey, ma'am, if we maybe open that door, it might be a little bit.
Oh, that's fine.
Maybe a little bit cooler in here. Get it a little bit cooler. I know. You want to take a break, sir? Or?
Yeah. If you need a break, that's perfect.
No, not me.
Oh, I can go. I play football. I can take
do
that.
it.
You
You can
good?
stand by it, yeah.
All right.
But you said what what's that last one there?
How are you received when you return home?
Oh yeah, that's what I'd like to tell you about. Well, I never was on the inside of the airplane at any time. I never seen the inside of an airplane the 4.5 years I was in the service. Everything was by train or by ship. Well, on our way home, we left the Philippines in October. Forget what day it was and everything, but we loaded on ships and headed back for the States after the war was over. Yay-hoo! Not being home for 2.5 years is going to be great. But here we're getting pretty close to the United States. We got California is where we disembarked. And the captain on the ship said, boys, he said, thank you, thank you so much for serving. He said you're going to have your first good meal in the States now. Enjoy it. Well, here we get to the barracks right off the shore in California. I forget what camp it was there, but here we get there, and everybody got in line to go in and have chow, have a good United States dinner again, right off the table. Well, to my disappointment, the waiters all came out, and here they are all German prisoners of war.
Oh.
Wow.
You know how I felt?
How'd you feel?
I felt like I was like an ant or something crawling along. That was the worst feeling I've had.
Really?
To see the Germans, they're all dressed up in good-looking clothes and waiting uniforms and everything. Great big 6-foot guys, you know. And here I'm over there in the mud in New Guinea and the Philippines and here they're. I'll never forget it, folks. I'll tell you, it is really downhearting to see that. But the food and everything was good. Don't get me wrong. It's just the idea of them, the German prisoners of war, were there waiting on tables.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a low blow. But I got over it, like everything else, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, and what did you end up doing after the war was over?
What did I want on?
What did you end up doing after the war was over?
After the war, well, I got this started in at Jefferson Barracks at November 15th of 45. And then, well, like say, being born and raised on a farm, I went back to my mom and dad again, and I loved the quail hunting. So I got out November the 15th of 45, and we're in the midst of quail season. So I went the rest of the year I went quail hunting. and doing things like that. And well, not much of anything. And here, February of 1946, I came down with malaria.
Ooh.
I went through the whole campaign over there in New Guinea and in the Philippines and everything, never had malaria, but as soon as I got in the States, I got malaria. Had 105 fever for 4 days. My mom just said I was as sick as a dog. Well, I got over that and everything and started looking for a job. Well, then I got a job in Maplewood. Lived in Manchester, went back to my farm at Manchester, and then got a job down at Maplewood at the steel plant, the structural steel company down there. And started working for them. Well, I ended up staying there for 37 years. In the meantime, I got married right after not long after I got out of the service. Got married and lived in Manchester, moved to Manchester from Chesterfield. And then that's where I started working in and worked the whole time right out of Manchester then for 37 years.
Okay, and then do you have anything else you want to say?
Anything else?
Yeah, anything else you want to say?
If you want to ask any more questions?
I got a question. Did you have any Army buddies, like Army friends that you had during the war? I'm sure you had plenty.
We used to have a reunion.
Really?
Over at St. Anne's. After we got out, a lot of boys were from Missouri and St. Louis and some of Illinois. And they had a real good friend from Lincoln, Nebraska. Well, we decided to have an Army reunion the first Sunday before Labor Day in September. Well, boys here in St. Louis, we got it organized. And my wife and a few other guys' wives, they wrote letters to everybody they knew. Well, at our first meeting, we had about 65. And if you ever seen a bunch of happy guys, whew, man, oh man, oh man. We had quite a time over there at the St. Anne City Park. The one boy was a barber in our company, and he only lived in St. Anne's. So he knew the mayor and everybody else over in St. Anne's, so he got the city park. He got a pavilion there for us every year we wanted it. So that's where we had our, well, I have to say I never did drink much beer, but some of them guys did quite a beer together. Half a barrel would be just normal for the for the Sunday there.
Wow.
But everybody had a good time.
That's good.
And like I said, it carried on till about like that for about 5 or 6 years. But then from then on, it started getting with my wife and I, like we wrote letters and everything. So they always wrote back to us, and they'd say, "Well, I'm sorry, but they get a letter. I'm sorry, but we won't be able to come this year. Jack has just not been feeling very good for the last few months. And I don't think we're going to be able to make it. We're sure we're going to miss you guys." And that's how it just kept on going, a little bit every year, from a letter here and a letter there, all over the country. And finally we ended up with 5 guys. With our last meeting we had held over at Union at the city park over there. Really? There's 5 of us left out of our company, out of Company C. So after that, we just started to, just gave it up. As getting together. But we did see one another, periodically. But it's come down to it right now. I'm the only one that's available from that whole works.
Really? From
Company C at 93.
That's really impressive.
One of the boys that was with us from St. Louis, he was 2 years older than me. He passed away about a year ago. And so like that left me then the only surviving.
Wow. Okay, well, we gotta stop. Excuse me, Nathan.
Good.
Now, let's see, there's a pin there.